So hope, believing things can change. And when I was 30 years old, I was hoping things would change. And I came across the quote, and it read this: if you want things to change, you have to change. If you want to get things, if you have to be better. So for me, I started to take on responsibility for my life, and I stopped blaming others. So it was a powerful quote. So then I started to study how the mind works, and you can kind of see that you can program it like a computer. So 10% of your mind is your conscious mind, and that's how you make decisions in life. But 90% is actually on autopilot, your beliefs, your behavior. So I say a lot of times people think they can, but they don't really think they can. So my journey has been, number one, how do I train my subconscious mind? And also, how do I help my clients over my career? And it comes up like this, and I'm a very common sense guy. So if you input things, what do you input? Is it good or bad? And whatever you start to input into your head, you start to think. And what you start to think, you expect, and then you actually create it and it becomes your life. So a lot of people put negativity, or they're around people that don't do positive things for them. So common sense is you have to put good things in if you want good things to come out. So how do you change your state? Well, there's actually three ways that you change your state. One is, what do you focus on? In any situation, there's either good or bad. So what do you focus on? Then you have to give it a meaning, and how do you talk to yourself? Do you say, no, you can't, or yes, you can? What, is it a positive or negative language? The last one that most people don't realize is your physiology. So how do you hold yourself? How do you carry yourself? So if you see people that don't have a lot of confidence and stuff, I always say, where is their head, up or down? It's down. Do they breathe shallow or deep? They breathe shallow. So to change your physiology through exercise and running and different things like that is super important. Kind of fake it till you make it. So I came up with an analogy, and I believe your life is like a novel. Okay? So you're the star and you're also the author. But a lot of times what happens is we drop our pen and we lend it to other people. So we start actually living the life that we didn't want to live. Just because people told us it was impossible, or maybe you shouldn't do that, or it's not a good idea. So you actually start living the life of what other people want. So for you to change it, you have to change. So here's my story, and it starts back when I had beautiful blonde hair, and don't have that anymore, but grade 7, a lot of things happened in grade 7 to me. One, I failed, I was held back, and then I went to somebody who told me I had a learning disability for whatever that is. So I was labeled that kid, and I tell people, if you label kids or something troublemakers, what are they going to be? Troublemakers. So we got to watch how we talk to youth. I also tried out for a lot of teams, and I got cut from almost every team I tried out. And the basketball team especially, I wanted to play. So I went to a man named Tom King, and some of you may know Tom King. He was a coach back then. And I asked him, man to man, when I was about 12 years old, I said, look, I know I'm not good enough to play, but do you think I can practice with the team? And he agreed to it. And what it made me think was how the power of coaches can be. So it kind of started to pull me in that direction of being a coach. So long story short, within a couple years, I ended up being one of the best basketball players around, MVP of the team. And for people to say, well, what's the big deal of that? You're in junior high or whatever. What it showed me was if you immerse yourself in whatever you do and you work hard, great things will happen. So that's kind of what it was. And Tom King was one of those coaches that helped change my life. So then through high school, just like some people, I didn't have the best of grades. I played sports. I worked out a lot. It was a big part of my life. And I helped people with training. I didn't get paid for it, but I helped people with that. So what I found a lot, like any profession, there's some great teachers and coaches and parents and things like that, but also you hear a lot of negativity. Once again, people telling you what you can and can't do, that you should live a certain life, and that's it. So you start to think, what kind of life should I have? So I found that I would start to think, well, geez, what am I going to do? And the first thing I came up with was I wanted to be a cook. So I actually got my Red Seal, went through my journeyman, did 4 years of that. But it wasn't really for me, so I kind of looked more like this. It wasn't a good thing. I wasn't really passionate about it, so I was like, geez, what am I going to do? It's not what I want to do as in my young 20s. And I said, okay. Well, a big box gym came to town, and they were hiring personal trainers. And I was like, geez, I've always been training people. I just never got paid for it. So I wanted to be the world's best trainer. So I went down, I applied for the job, and I went to do my certification. And something happened. A lot of people was passing this test, and I ended up failing. I failed this certification that a lot of people passed. And I didn't fail it once, but I failed 3 times. So I kind of was embarrassed at the time, but I thought, okay, no worries. So same thing, I went to my coach at the time. Her name was Nikki Peck, and I said, look, my mind doesn't work sometimes like others. I said, can you give me a verbal test? and we can go from there. And she agreed. So once again, I saw the power of a coach, how they change people's lives. So we did it, I passed, and the rest is history. And that was about 17 years ago. So once again, I was like, wow, coaches are very powerful and they can change people's lives. So what I learned, the biggest thing from that is love to fail. And a lot of the time we stop in life and we don't want to fail because people will laugh at us and stuff like that. So the only way to fail is actually to quit. And everything else is just a learning experience. And if you study success, you'll understand that the most successful people in life have failed because they take the most chances in life. But a lot of times, like I said, we're scared people are going to laugh at us, so we kind of live in this little box, which I'll talk about what I say is the life pendulum. So how it works is if I'm here in life, which a lot of people do, they never want to step outside their comfort zone, which is fine. They never have failure or misery, but they never have ultimate success. So once again, the most successful people in the world have actually failed the most. Because when you take massive action and you take the shot, yes, you're going to get misery and failure, but it usually swings back around to success and happiness. So people really need to just start taking the shot and taking the chance and stop listening to others. So from them, I became an independent trainer and into the big box gym. I did very well. I got as what they call a master trainer, which isn't a big thing I like to talk about, but I was up there in the company. I struggled financially. They didn't pay trainers much back then. It was a long time ago. So, you know, like anything, I just wasn't good with money. And then a lot of things happened. I turned 30 years old, and I was gonna buy a business and move away and open this business. But when I got the contract, it wasn't a good contract for me. So I was like, okay, this isn't for me. So I didn't do it. But at the same time, I left all my clients that I built over the past 8 years. So I'm 30 years old. I'm like, holy frig, what do I do? And one of my clients actually wrote me a check for $5,000. And he said, I don't know what you're going to do, but you're going to do great things in life. Take this money until you figure it out. So once again, I believe that if you're a good person, you attract good people to help. So that was another turning point for me. I said, oh God, I got to do something. So then I started to study success. I said, what's the difference between them and me? Why can't I be like them? And what I learned in life is that none of these guys did things for money. They always did it because of a purpose. So whether it's Michael Jordan or Sidney Crosby, they don't get up every day and say, I want to be a multi-millionaire. They got up and said, I want to be the best player in the world. So if your drive is money, it never really happens. And if you look at the other people up here, same thing. They had a purpose. So success to me was no more than living life on your terms. It wasn't about money, because I had a lot of clients with a lot of money who I wouldn't say were really successful. They couldn't take care of their health, they were angry, they were stressed, they didn't have relationships with their family. So for me, that wasn't true success. So that's what I defined true success as. So I said, what's my purpose? Well, there was 3 things. It was number 1, to change the way people train. And that's my tagline, and that's what I use now. And what that means is I knew there was more than a big box gym. So I was like, the body's a machine, and that's what I want to do. So I got away from treadmills and circuits, and I said, I want to change a culture here. And also it was to change the people's lives. The way the coaches changed my lives, I wanted to do that too. I said, that's very powerful and very rewarding. So I wanted to give back. And last but not least, I wanted to change youth athletics and a culture in New Brunswick. Because at the time, 6, 7 years ago, there wasn't much going on. I knew we had talented players and stuff, but I was like, our development just isn't there. So I wanted to change a whole culture. So that was my purpose. So I had a little obstacle, and this was one of my obstacles that you've seen at the first. And what that was, when I was 30 years old, I went to declare bankruptcy. And I sat down with a guy, a little suit and tie, very arrogant, and he kind of looked down on me and he said, son, you have no choice but to declare bankruptcy. And that was a turning point for me. I said, I'm sick and tired of people telling me what I can and cannot do. So I took that sheet of paper, which I still have today, and I said, I do have a choice, sir. I'm going to go make more money. And I left that office, and my life has never been the same. So things happened like anything. I had a plan A to Z. So if people tell you can't do it, nobody was really, banks and stuff weren't really trying to offer me money when I was declaring bankruptcy, no income, things like that. But once again, I think if you're a successful person, you study that, you attract success too. So I had some people that believed in me. So I rounded up about $100,000 with an interest rate of 24, 16, and 12. So very high interest rates for you, the people that know that. So I had about 1,000 square foot gym. I had a vision, and I had some other trainers aboard. I didn't really know exactly how I was going to do it, but I kind of had the philosophy. So I kind of started that journey. I slept on that couch because I couldn't pay rent. So I said, look, I'm going to sit here and work hard and do 16-hour days, and I don't care what it takes, I'm going to be successful. So at the time, it was a little embarrassing. I used to look up at the ceiling and say, this is going to make a really good book someday. So it was good. So it was about 1,000 square feet. Then I started to read personal development, and it's become a little bit more mainstream now, but back then there wasn't too much. So people like Tony Robbins, Darren Hardy, Jim Rohn, I started to invest time in that. So there's a saying, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. So I started to do that. So every day, up to this day, I read at least 10 pages of personal development and 30 pages of positive audio, putting good things in. The next thing I did was I started to travel the world, model success. It's that simple. If you want to be successful, study success. So I started traveling the world, and every year I usually spend $20,000 to $30,000 on my education. So what people don't understand is I do a ton of education, I travel the world, and I see the best of the best. So a lot of people don't know who these are, but if you were to Google them, they are literally the best in the business. They train the best athletes, they have the best business models. You know, I'd bug them, email them, say, look, can I come? Some said no, I would call and email again. So I kept on them. So great things happened. I started to pay off my debt. The company grew, and my first company was called Total Wellness. And then I was kind of branching off and doing something a little bit different. So in 2011, I went to 3,500 square feet. So I about tripled in size. I didn't have any more independent trainers, but I started to develop a system. And I started to, everybody there, it was a membership base, but everybody had a trainer. So I was kind of going against the grain and doing something a little different. So during that time, is what some people don't understand, is I overcame adversity every single day. The difference is how did I handle that adversity? A lot of people say, oh, Terry's positive and happy, has no problems. I have just as many personal problems as anybody else. I own a business. That doesn't fly smooth. So I overcame adversity all the time. Another thing I never really talked publicly about, but a couple people that were very close to me said, it's a big part of your story and you should really talk about it for a minute. So my whole life I've been put in a certain category and judged. And for people that don't know what I'm talking about, that's okay. That's a good thing. But for the longest time, because of my last name, I was kind of put in a category and said, oh, he must have cheated to get ahead, or he did this and that. So I was kind of labeled that. And over the years, me and my clients would kind of laugh and talk about it, because after they would kind of say, oh, geez, my husband was scared of me coming here, or my wife, or they thought you were crazy, and all this. Up to this point, the only thing I'm guilty of is being the hardest worker in the room, working 16-hour days, busting my butt to get ahead. So don't judge people. It's a small city sometimes. People like to talk, but judge people for yourself. So let your adversity be your advantage, and let your muscles be the wounds. So just like working out, just like doing a chest press and bicep curls, we have to build mental muscle. So what I tell parents all the time, if you keep the kids in a bubble and don't let them deal with problems, well, you're not doing them any favor, because when they grow up and they have problems, well, guess what? They start to not be able to deal with those problems. So it's one of the things we have to be careful. You support them, but you have to let them deal with negativity and pain and rejection and things like that. So great things happened. I kept working really hard. I went from 3,500 to 55 to 65 to 75. I'm at about 10,000 square feet, and a great thing happened over that. I paid off my company 5 years ahead of schedule. So on top of that, thank you. On top of being in debt for a very long time, I wrote the check to my investor at the time, who lent me the money, and it was a very emotional time for me to give that money, because I've always been debt and things like that. So it was great to finally have that off and expand and do it with cash flow. So who are my clients? Well, they range 10 to 75, athletes, pro athletes, groups, teams. I do it all at Afterburn with my amazing team, of course. So I've tried to build that vision that I wanted. So what was the biggest difference? I started to believe into myself, and I started adding more value to my life and saying I was worth it. Because a lot of times it's how you feel is how people treat you. So it was very important to me to believe that I was worth what number one I was getting paid and things like that. So this is the success formula that I do. And once again, it's a common sense thing. In the world, everybody has unlimited potential. That's how you can say some people go from nothing, ended up being some of the most successful people in the world. Some people are given everything to, and they end up throwing it all away. But what I find in life is that people lack massive action. And with that, they get no results, and they don't believe in themselves. But when I was sitting on that couch on Union Street, I took massive action. 16-hour days, no vacation, working my butt off, And with that, I got massive results. And then my belief came more, and I ended up living the life I want. So you have to take massive action in life. And along with massive action, okay, it also takes time. It doesn't happen overnight, okay? So I tell people that are very unhealthy, I'm like, you didn't get unhealthy overnight. Don't expect it like that. So it's consistency. It's not every other day or anything like that. It's day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. Always working. Be the hardest worker in the room. So life all comes down to this, choices. So decision making is your ultimate destiny. So you do good choices or bad choices. And what one leads you? Do you drink water or eat the cake? Okay? Do you work out or do you sit on the couch like Homer here? Okay? Do you put in good things or bad things? What do you do every single day is the important part. It's not big decisions, it's the little decisions. It's the compound effect. So if I was somebody and I read my personal development, I listen to my positive audio, I drink my water, I go to the gym, I do little things, not massive things, just little things. And then Jimmy Joe over here, well, he has a couple Timbits every day. He doesn't drink his water, he doesn't go to the gym, things like that. Well, over time, okay, same thing. Days, weeks, months, years, you start to pull away. And at first you're like, geez, I'm busting my butt. And this guy here doesn't, he's the same as me. But compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. So as you start to pull away, you pull away very fast. It just takes time to get there. So I always tell people, it's not about just setting goals, it's about raising your standards. When you learn to stop tolerating what people think you are and stop listening to people and demand more from yourself than anybody else, that's when your life changes. So Will Smith says it best. Being realistic is the most common path to mediocrity. So I ask people, why be realistic? Why think you can't do the things you want to do? Why do you listen to tell people that it's impossible? Why do you live that type of life? Live the life you want, be the person you want, and I tell people, I dare you to dream. I dare you to be that person who dreams and goes out. People talk about St. John all the time, negative stuff, I hear it. I never moved away, I stayed right here, and I did what I wanted to do. I created the life I wanted. I wanted to train pro athletes. People said that would never happen. There's no way that's going to happen. I've trained handfuls of pro athletes. Jonathan Huberto and me, we worked very closely together before he went away. He came back a week later after winning the Rookie of the Year just to thank me. So upon that, I've always done what I wanted to do. And at the bottom, you see athletics, transformation, performance. They go with my purpose. I didn't know how I was going to do it at the time, but now I look back, and that's what I made to do my purpose. So I'll finish with a couple quotes, because a couple things. There's always going to be haters and people like that, and I don't say much in life. I just go to work and do my thing. So I say the greatest revenge is massive success. That's how I do it. I just put my head down and work. I know my product's good, and I know what I do is great, and I have a great team to do it. And the other one that I used to always hear, you're so lucky. And I'm like, well, is luck getting up every day at 4:50 a.m., sending out emails, reading my personal development, doing the audio, never taking a vacation for like 7 years? Is that all luck? I made the emails to the people that I needed to do. Sometimes I got rejected, sometimes I was said no, but it wasn't luck, because luck runs out on people. But if you get up every single day and take massive action, your life will change. So if anybody ever wants to find me, I'm at Afterburn Performance. Just my email, terry_blizzard@hotmail.com, if anybody has any questions or anything. So when writing your story of your life, don't let anybody else hold your pen, okay? Hold that tight and be the person you want to be. Because Steve Jobs said it best. And he said, connecting the dots, you can always look backwards, not forward. So if I didn't overcome the adversity and have those problems and things like that who make you who you are, I wouldn't be up on stage here today. 8 years later, I'd be, who knows. So it does compound over time. And all you have to do is believe and take massive action in life. So thank you very much, guys. That's my story.